Hi everyone, it's me Jen from EmJustLikeYou, and today I would like to share with you some of my studying tips. So of course, if you're not in school and you're not interested in my studying tips, then sorry, but I'll have some more beauty videos up next. I am just talking about this because it's been really highly requested on all of my social medias. Everyone wants to know, how did I study? And I think just doing a video sharing how I study may help those out there. I mean, not everyone is the same. I think everyone studies a little bit different. This is just my tip, what I did. So I want to just kind of talk about the main thing that will really help with studying is time management. I know you probably hear this a million times plus one already, but it really is true. So even though I am a semi-procrastinator, I do wait till the last minute. In my mind the whole time though, I am planning out and organizing like when I need to do certain things. So let's say there's 5 lectures on your next upcoming test, and my test is going to be on a Monday. What I would do is wait until, do a little bit at a time, know that I have 5 lectures, make sure I say, okay, it's up to you. You might want to do, okay, I'm going to do 5 lectures the 2 nights before and then save the night before to review everything. And that might be your thing, but you need to plan out what you want to do. That way you can really time manage, and that way you don't feel very rushed at the end. So for me, maybe instead of doing that, I would probably say, okay, I have 5 lectures to go over before the exam, and I have 4 days. So the first 2 days, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get all the lectures out of the way where I study completely everything, and then save the last day to review it. Or I could say, okay, the first 2 days I'm gonna do 2 chapters, the next day I'm gonna do 3 since one of them is a little bit shorter, and then save the last day to review. Or you can just say, hey, I'm gonna do 2 chapters a day, and then the last day I'm gonna do the last chapter and then review. So it really has to do with planning and just time managing yourself. Also, I know a lot of you probably are the same as me, where before you study, you're trying to do everything so that you don't have to study. You clean your room, even that. You go out to eat, you search the web, you go on Facebook, you read blogs, and you do all these things to prevent yourself from studying. You're like, okay, once I finish this, I'll study. Once I finish this, I will just begin. But you know what? I actually told myself, no, I'm no longer going to do that. What I'm going to do is really decide, okay, I'm gonna study for 6 hours, and I'm gonna start at 1 o'clock. So right at 1 o'clock, that's when you need to start. Or instead of surfing the web and just wasting time, okay, I tell myself, okay, what is the highest priority for me? Is spending time with my boyfriend, or spending time with my family, or walking the dog. Then I would say, okay, I have 2 hours to do the things that I want today and study the rest of the time. What I would do is study as much as I can so that I can have those 2 hours to myself to do whatever I want, instead of actually just surfing the web and doing all those things to prevent myself from studying and wasting time. And then by the time I study, I'm like feeling so horrible. I spent all those time, and then when someone wants to ask you to go eat, or if your family wants you to spend time with them, you can't because you've wasted so much time just doing nonsense. So time management is really important in my opinion. And if you can manage your time, if you can write down a to-do list, you can really save time and you can really maximize your studying time. Next is, how do I study? So I know I've done this, I know a lot of you probably do it too, is you write your notes really beautifully, or you rewrite your notes because you write it so ugly in class, and so you go home and you rewrite your notes, or your professor's notes and your slides, and you go home and you rewrite everything in that perfect handwriting or the perfect different colors and highlighters. I did that. And you know what? You're wasting time. Yeah, you're really kind of reviewing in a way, but not really, because you're not spending the time to really get the information in and analyzing it. You're more of just rewriting it. And a lot of people probably think, no, if I rewrite it, I'll remember it. Yeah, but not everything, and you don't have to obsess over being perfect when you're writing it out, if that makes sense. So what I recommend, and this is what I've done, I had to learn this the really long route. What I do is that I would study, read everything I need to read, listen to the lecture, and jot down the main things that I cannot remember. Let's say if it was math, if it's a formula, I can't not remember it, I write it down. Let's say there's a math problem that I keep getting wrong. I would write it down on a paper and write the steps. First step, I do this. Second step, I would do this. And I would memorize that so that when it comes to the test, I see a similar problem, I remember these are the steps. If you were to write down every single problem and then try to solve every single thing, you're not going to be able to kind of remember the steps or anything like that. So write down a guideline for yourself. Don't write the numbers, right? Okay, if A plus B divided by C is this, then this is how you do it. Step 1, A times B first, blah, blah, blah. So that helps. So what I'm trying to say is that you want to create a cheat sheet. That's what I did when I studied for my NAPLEX. For every disease state, let's say diabetes, cardio, each subject, I would have a cheat sheet. And everything on that cheat sheet is something that I cannot memorize, something that is very hard for me or I'm struggling. That way, when you study and you review that sheet of paper. It narrows down everything. And that is something that I think really makes studying a lot easier. Instead of just trying to soak in everything, you try to study everything, review everything, look at everything, but then jot down just the main points that you find that is really important or something that you're really struggling in. All right, so now we've already talked about kind of the studying things. What about test taking skills? I am the worst test taker. I don't know what they're asking. Sometimes I think way too hard. I change my answer. And you guys, that's just a part of test taking. That doesn't mean you don't know the material. That doesn't mean that you're not smart. You just might not be a very good test taker. And there are people out there that can guess and do really well. But let me just tell you, when you're taking the exam, be calm. Know that this is your only chance. So why not take your time and really think it through? Also, don't second guess yourself. The first thing that comes to mind, pick that one. But that doesn't mean you don't go back and check your work because something might be off. So let's say a question's asking you for something that is not. Then you want to circle that big not word so that you can make sure this is not, going down the choices. Now, if the question is asking you select all the ones that apply, make sure you cross out which ones that don't apply. Really important, I think, for test taking is not only knowing the material, it's really reading the questions and seeing what it's asking. I do also believe that if it is a select all question and you have to look for everything that's correct, maybe the answer choice isn't very similar to what you think is correct, but the answer choice is not wrong, select it. Because it's not wrong, it can be an answer. That's just the way I study, that's just the way I take my exam, but I'm not saying I'm always right. I just hope that, that can help you out a little bit. Now, what I also want to recommend is don't just study all the time. You have to not stress about grades. You can't just always think, I have to make an A, I have to make an A. Life is too short. You have to enjoy yourself. Find a hobby, something that you can just spend a little bit of time to just relieve the stress. I do YouTube, I look at makeup, I look at blogs, and that makes me happy. And then I just go back to studying. It's really, really important to relax and have fun. I mean, school is important, I understand that, but the best way is to have some resting time because once you've rested, once you've done something you love and you enjoy, when you go back to studying, it just feels a lot better. I hope you find some of my tips helpful. I know that it might just be a whole bunch of rambling on, but I really think that with studying and with everything, it's all about what works for you. And what works for you is after you've tried studying in so many different ways, that's the only way you can find that perfect studying habit that you will have. Don't give up even if you study a certain way and then let's say you study a lot. You review everything, you do practice problems, you do everything, and then you still don't do well on a test or as well as you want. Don't go back and study the exact same way. You've got to find another way. If this didn't work, you have to think about it and say, okay, why didn't it work? Do I need to ask for help? Yes, asking for help is perfect. People have been through it. then you go ask them, you know, how did you do this? Or can you explain this to me? I think it's really great to work in groups and study in groups after you've known the material. So what I do is I study on my own, and then once I know the material a little bit better, I then study in a group, because something that you see a certain way, another friend or another person can see it in a different way. And that way you can see it in all sorts of ways. That way you can do well on the exam. And if you've been studying with the group and you feel like your exam grades are not as great, maybe you need to study on your own first. It's all about adapting and changing your ways. You can't be stubborn and stick to one way of studying all the time. Alright, so basically those are my study tips. I hope you guys enjoy watching this. I don't know if it was just a whole bunch of me just blabbing on and on and on. I hope some of the things I said really made sense and it was helpful. Alright you guys, I hope you guys enjoy this, and of course I know a lot of you want to hear pharmacy update, how there are things going and everything, so I will do a video on that, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!